The Boys is officially over, and I'm a bit disappointed. Now, this is a series that I started watching from the very beginning, so I do emotionally connect with it a lot, and I think that definitely affects how I feel about the ending. This has been a show that so many people watched because it was a different kind of superhero series compared to everything else out there. And honestly, I think season 5 as a whole was kind of a letdown. First of all, I think some of the character arcs were amazing. For example, A-Train had a really good arc throughout the entire series. Even though he died in the first episode of the season, I still think his overall story was handled perfectly from beginning to end. I also think Butcher and Homelander had an amazing arc, even though they did get killed, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, I think some of the characters were handled pretty well. So I made a video about 2 days ago saying how this season was starting to feel a lot like Stranger Things. And honestly, not to toot my own pickle, I think I was bang on. You have this huge build up towards one massive fight scene, and then the actual fight is super short and limited by time. And after that, the rest of the episode is basically just ending scenes and wrapping stuff up. Now, I'm not saying I hated the ending or anything, it was still pretty good. The thing is, they definitely could have messed it up way more, which they luckily didn't. But the fact that Homelander, this massive, terrifying superhero who's been built up for 5 seasons, got killed within like 5 minutes, just felt a bit anticlimactic. I personally feel like the scale should have been way bigger. The fight itself was actually really well choreographed, and once it started getting really good, it just ended immediately. And that's my problem with it. You expect something more massive, especially for the final battle of the series. Instead, it's mostly confined to one room with a 3v1 situation. And I don't know, I just feel like seeing Homelander in a more chaotic environment would have been way more fun to watch, because I believe that's what separated The Boys from a lot of other superhero shows in the first place. But even then, I still really liked the final moments before he actually died. Seeing him begging on his knees like a good boy after acting like a god for the entire series was honestly amazing to watch. So that's why I still think that Homelander's overall arc was done really well, even if the final battle itself felt too short. We also got a few cast members who basically just walked in and walked out. For example, Soldier Boy was literally taken out of his glass chamber so they could clean it from the inside just to put him back in again in a cleaner environment. And then we also got the Gen V students. We only saw like 3 of them, and apparently they were really essential to the finale because they had to help drive a truck to Canada. And hey, Canada is a pretty big country, so obviously they need 3 people to take turns driving. So yeah, I completely understand why the Gen V cast had to be there. For me, the biggest negative is probably what they did with the Deep. Now obviously, I think the Deep is a really good guy, if you ignore all the bad things he's done. And I was actually expecting an amazing fight between Starlight and the Deep, which to be fair, we did kind of get. Now for the people who don't know, the Deep is supposed to be the god of the seas. So let's say, if I had to fight the god of the seas, where is the one place I would not take him? I don't know, maybe the fucking sea? What was the point of that? Why would you take him from a confined building where there's basically no water to the one place where he should be the strongest? Obviously, they had to connect it to the plot where all the fish, including Nick Fury, thought he killed Nemo or something, and they don't listen to him anymore and killed him off. But it just felt stupid. Honestly, it would have been funnier if he was just using the washroom or something and a fish came out and... But yeah, at the end of the day, I still think The Boys is a really good show. It was something I was genuinely invested in, and I don't think I'm gonna suddenly despise the entire series just because the final season wasn't as good as the others. And again, it's not like the finale was horrible or anything, it was alright. Am I gonna write back home saying it was a terrible ending? No. Am I gonna cry a little bit when I go to sleep? Maybe. But overall, I still think it wasn't that bad. So yeah, take care. Right now, baby, right now.